be live. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna paste the meeting notes in. Actually, I should just stop sharing for now. Hi everyone. While we're settling in, I pasted the meeting notes in the chat. If you could go in, actually I should paste this on that ties to the heading. If you can put your name in under the attendance for today's meeting, put your affiliations as well as whether you have any update. And if you're a new member, also just like it'd be helpful if you put a small note there saying that you're new. Awesome. I see many new names and faces. This is cool. So we will also need to have 1 or 2 scribes. If there's anyone that can help scribe for today's meeting, that would be super helpful.
A scribe being someone who can take notes whilst people are talking.
Yeah, I think because the meetings are recorded, so really what we're looking for is just like action items.
Just like, yeah. Sweet. Yeah, I can help out with that if you want.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt.
I got that for you.
All right, cool. We'll just give it 1 more minute and then we can get started. In the meantime, the usual notice, this group will abide by CNCF as well as Tax Security Code of Conduct. This can be found in the repo. The meeting is being recorded, and actually live streamed to YouTube. So this will be available after the meeting. Okay, and I think we covered the rest. Where put in your names in the doc. So yeah, I think we can get started. So I see there's a lot of new faces, so I think the the biggest agenda today is going to be do around introductions, welcome new members. We've had a very exciting week at KubeCon and SecurityCon, and I think it was a very interesting set of folks. A lot of new faces, definitely, at the conference as well as here. So I think for today we're gonna start with just going around. We'll start off with the new members, and then we can go around as well from the old members, since I think it's also going to be helpful to do introductions the other way around. So let's start with that. Going through the list, I think Matt, do you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, I'm Matt Smith. I'm a software engineer at Nordnet. We're a bank in Scandinavia. So I live in sunny Stockholm, although the windows are closed right now. Yeah, so hi. I came to KubeCon and got super inspired to contribute to CNCF and Kubernetes, and now I'm here. So hi.
Awesome. Are there any topics that you're interested in particular?
I mean, in terms of security topics, generally security on cloud platforms like Kubernetes and things, where it's encryption and authentication, and I mean, as a bank, we have to secure data in a pretty rigid way. So yeah, there's general interest in there, but also in terms of my own personal contributions, I'm just here to kind of see where I can contribute and fit in and give advice to, given what I do. So at the moment, just listening, and then we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks.
Next up, I'm gonna butcher this name. Chiranta.
Yeah,
Is that
hi.
right?
Yeah. So I am currently working at Intel as a software security expert, and I came across this group in the last KubeCon conferences last week, basically, and yeah, quite interesting. I'm still discovering a lot of stuff because I'm new to Kubernetes still, and my previous work was related to identity and access management also on system security. Yeah. And if you want like specific interest, I'll say distributed systems and system security, and also IAM will be also fine for me.
Awesome. Welcome. Next on the list, let me just go down. Thomas.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, hi everyone. My name's Thomas, but you feel free to call me Tom. I'm a Kubernetes engineer and I work at a consultancy called JetStack. We're based in the UK. We are the company and not, well, a lot of the employees at our company are responsible for an open source tool called Cert Manager, which you may be familiar with. But we also offer a load of sort of consultancy, which is more what I do. And because of that, we've been sort of thrown into the whole crazy world of open source software supply chain security, which has been really interesting, hot buzzword, really popular at KubeCon. I'm of course interested in that subject, but I think what brings me here is while I've been looking at it a lot, like I'm more interested as well in, rather than just doing the cool new stuff, getting a good foundational knowledge in like general Kubernetes security and cloud native security, and get a good understanding about how that should be done for cloud native environments going forward in the future, rather than just sort of limiting myself to supply chain. So good to meet you all.
Awesome. Welcome, Thomas. Next on my list is Anne. I feel like, I don't know, Anne, is this your first time in this call?
It is my first time on this call. Yeah, my name's Ann Wallace. I lead compliance at Shopify. And I've been kind of poking around at the policy working group and really interested in kind of helping out with compliance or things around OSCAL.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like.
Sorry, Anne
Yeah, I feel
reached
like
out to me for some discussions on policy and the Pascal integration as well. So just wanted to say hi. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like we have so many working groups. I can't remember who's part of which ones. Okay. I think next on the list is Vadaman. Did I get that right?
Yep. Hi. So I'm an intern at Synchrony Financial, and actually this is my first time on the call. I just wanted to get accustomed to this whole information security thing. I'm mostly just here to sit and watch, learn from what you guys are talking about, and just kind of get used to the whole domain since it's fairly new for me.
Cool. He's going to be working on OSCAL. He doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, I just started yesterday, so fairly new.
Awesome. Mark, thanks for spreading the love of the group. Savita?
Hi, my name is Savita. I've been here a couple times, but I think it was last year or like early this year, and I couldn't attend this meeting. It was always in conflict with one of the work meetings. Luckily, I had like no meeting day, and I'm here stopping by to learn and see if I could contribute in any way. I also work with Pushkar in Kubernetes security, and I help lead the documentation sub-project. So here I am. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Welcome back.
Savita also contributed to the version 2 white paper recently.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think the last person that I have on the list that may be new is Shlomo. Did I get that? If you're talking, we can't hear you. Okay, we may get back to you if you get your audio working. So you can type in chat as well if you want to introduce yourself there. Okay. So I think also maybe we want to go around. I can start to kind of like introduce some of us on the call, and on a volunteer basis, just so that I feel like that would be helpful. So I think I'll start with myself, and then I'm going to pass it on to fellow co-chairs, and then we can kind of go around the room, co-chairs and TLs. So my name is Brandon. I'm a co-chair of the tech security. I'm also a security engineer at Google, working on the Google open source security team. Obviously we have a lot of things going on here. My Slack DM is always open, so if you want to send me a message if you're interested in helping out, go ahead. I'll pass it on to Ratna.
Yeah, hi, good morning all. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I work for TIAA. I manage their cloud security services. And for CNCF, Tag Security, I'm the co-chair. Work with Brandon and Andy on a number of initiatives here. I'm glad you're all joining us on our future projects, hopefully. Thank you. Andy.
Good. Yes, good evening, one and all. I'm Andy. I'm CEO at Control Plane, where we do cloud-native security engineering, audits, and all that good stuff. Very pleased to be a co-chair here. I've recently written a book on hacking Kubernetes, so that is very much my focus. The kind of offensive red to purple team side. I'm currently joining you from mediumly sunny Oxford by a river. So it's a very placid place to ponder security.
Yeah, I feel Andy takes the calls from all different places every time. It's either, sometimes from a plane, sometimes from a bar. So it's a surprise. Okay, and then let's go to the TLs that we have on the call, and then I'll get back to you, Shlomo. So Pushkar?
Sure. Okay. So hi, this is Pushkar. I'm a TL is basically tech lead in CNCF Tag Security. I am also, like Savita, a member of Kubernetes SIG Security. So one of the things as a new member, if you're confused, what the hell are these two groups and why are they different? I am a good person to chat with you on that. So feel free to reach out after the meeting or Slack me. Should be able to respond soon. Generally been here for about a couple of years and I work for VMware.
Awesome. I think we have Raga also, who's going to be in UTL. At least we have to get a nomination through. But Raga, are you there?
Thanks, Brandon. Hello, everyone. Ragashri this side from India, and I work for Nokia. Been in tech security for about a year now, and transitioning to tech lead as mentioned. Happy to chat with you and help you get started with the contributions here. Thank you.
Awesome. And I think we have Michael. Do you want to do an introduction?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mike Lieberman. I do a lot of supply chain security stuff, as well as have a background in financial services with a focus in security. So helping out with a lot of the supply chain work that this group does. And yeah, if anybody who's interested in either helping or learning even just more about supply chain security, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Okay, let's get back to Shlama.
Yeah,
The
hi,
audio
can you hear me
working?
now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I'm on my phone. So I'm a software engineer at CyberArk. I work on Conjur open source secrets management application, which specifically I deal with a lot of the Kubernetes integrations. So obviously very interested in Kubernetes security, and particularly in secrets management. And I'm looking forward to seeing how I can get involved and help with things.
Awesome. By any chance, is that something that there's going to be open source component to it?
Say again?
Is the stuff that you're working on going to have an open source component to it?
Yeah. So, Conjur is an open source. Yeah, I work on an open source secrets management application, and all the integrations is all open source. All of what I do on my team is open source. Oh yeah. Somebody just posted. John, thank you. Yep.
Awesome.
You can see they're in a bunch of different repositories, but that's the main one.
Very cool. Thank you.
But yeah, much of my work personally is integrations between Conjur and Kubernetes, which is open source.
Cool. So just kind of rounding back. We just did introductions, the chats and TLs, good people to reach out to. Feel free to ping us, and we can help provide you some direction into who to talk to and things like that. There are a lot of things that are going on in the group, so naturally it can be a little bit difficult to navigate, and I think we recognize that. So before I start, my main kind of agenda item today was kind of getting to hear more about what people are looking for, and then talk a little bit about what the group does and like how to get involved and get into the things. So before I start, does anyone have any particular questions or any particular things that they wanna have answered from the call? Cool. If not, just put something in the chat. Usually these calls, they happen weekly. These calls kind of are split into 3 different types of calls. So we have working sessions, and in working sessions we talk about certain issues. We talk about certain security topics. We kind of work through some of the things that the group is working on. We want to get feedback from everyone. We want to kind of start to shape the work of the group, right? We have discussions on what should we work on next, what interesting topics, what we had a couple of folks from a project that came and talked about, what happens if I use a library that uses another library that has a vulnerability, and how do I go about navigating the construct of fixing the CVE that it's basically two dependencies down. And then we also talked about container breakouts, where it's going. We have a blog post coming up on that based on these discussions. So that's generally what working sessions are for. Is really to kind of take a look where we're going next, what are some of the things that we're working on, and to get feedback on that. There are also presentations, and actually the next couple of weeks we have packed presentations. And this is when we get CNCF projects or just external speakers that want to talk about security. They come in and give a presentation. We have a usually very good discussion around that. And so, next up we have, I think next week we have open open fine-grained authorization. I'm about to confirm with the speakers. That's a new project, and then we have IBOM infrastructure bill of materials that's coming up as well. KubeWarden is another project that's coming up. Policy engine for Kubernetes. And I think one more that we still have yet to schedule is the confidential containers project, which is a new project around a sandbox project in CNCF that is kind of a control plane for confidential containers. So how do you deploy them? How do you make sure you can do the measurements of the enclaves and things like that? And they did a talk at KubeCon as well, if you're interested in that. So that's the presentations, and then usually if we do not have any agenda, we have something called a check-in meeting. Check-in meeting is more of like, we're gonna do some triage. We're gonna just talk about things. It's also a good opportunity for new members to come in, and if they have any questions on like how do I contribute, or something I'm interested in, we kind of help to guide that as well. Another thing that's coming up is as we are kind of seeing like the emergence of more folks in the EU region, and as you can see from the call, right, we have a lot of new folks that are joining as well. And now that we have Andy, who's based in the UK, I think we want to try and start up again, kind of like the EU meeting, so that we may transition to something along the lines of 1 week one week America's time zone and 1 week EU time zone. Cool. So I'm gonna just share my screen really quickly. Can you see this GitHub window?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So if anything that you wanna, if anything you forget throughout the entire call, just remember this: everything's on GitHub. You should be able to get everything on GitHub in the repo itself, issues or pull requests. So this is how generally we manage the tag. All the resources that we've worked on are accessible through GitHub, and so we have the README, which kind of gives you general ideas how to get to this meeting, which I think most folks already know about. We have all the resources here. So, we had the white papers that we talked about, V1 and V2 that was most recently worked on, the cloud native security map. This brings you to this page that basically is like part of the white paper, as well as it gives you a little bit more information of like the projects and things like that. So we have the white paper work. We have the supply chain security book. So we have the compromises catalog, basically list of all the compromises that have happened. Secure Software Factory, this was something that we just released, as you can see, 6 days ago. This is about a reference architecture on how to build a secure software factory. Supply chain security paper. So if you go into the repo, you can go in. Basically, there should be instructions that will help guide you to where to get involved. So in this case, you can see, if you're interested in getting involved in the supply chain stuff, we have a supply chain working group. And so the tag has our regular Wednesday meetings. We also have the working group. So we have the tech security supply chain working group. We have a NIST controls working group. And we also have a policy working group, which is not part of the tag, but we are closely associated with them. So basically, a lot of the repo is just like, you can explore it, take a look. Another important items, I guess, for new members would be the contributing folder. So this will tell you a little bit about how to contribute and so on, and how to basically navigate this. Another important thing is also the governance. So you're interested in how all things works. How do we end up picking like a project? How do I propose a new idea that I want to work on, and how do I evolve that to become a fully fledged project in a group, or maybe a new working group. This folder on governance has all the resources that you need. And so yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna go through every single one, but this is like generally an idea on how to navigate. And so one of the things that we do is a lot of participating in this. We go through issues and PRs. We try our best to make it so that being in the meetings isn't mandatory. So whenever there are conversations, they are either on Slack or they are on the issues. And so for new members, we kind of encourage you to kind of look at the help wanted and good first issues issues there. Yeah, so a couple of things where we just talked about the CTX and PH files compromise that happened in PyPy just like a day ago. So we are saying, okay, we should add this to the supply chain compromises catalog that I showed earlier, right? So this is a quick one. But other than that, you can also just take a look through. One of the things we mentioned, I'm not sure if folks went by the presentation or the closing for SecurityCon. We talked about some of the supply chain efforts that are going. So you can filter this by supply chain. We were talking about applying supply chain security work group best practices to CNCF projects. This is being led by the supply chain working group opened by Michael. So this one we talked about, we did the secure software factory. How can we then use that to then apply it to other CNCF projects? And then another one that we had was on SBOMs, to kind of talk a little bit about how do you have guidance on what should a cloud native SBOM be. And so to give a general overview, the way that we do things in the process is that we encourage everyone to open proposals and suggestions. And the idea is when you open the proposals, you get comments on it. And generally, we gauge whether there is enough interest in the particular topic to warrant creation of a new working group, or to start it off to a new project. And the reason for that is because we have for every project that goes on within the tag, we have something called stack representative, which is someone from the stack leadership team. When I say stack, I mean security tag. We just use the abbreviation. And also a project lead. So we also want to make sure that whatever we do is in line with the CNCF Technical Oversight Committee. And so that kind of alignment needs to happen. So in general, what we usually encourage folks to do is if you're interested in something, look for them in issues, see where they can find something close. If not, you can always feel free to create a new issue or comment on an existing issue just to show, just to show that you're interested in it and that you're willing to work on it. And so if you create a new issue, there are multiple things you can do, right? We talked about proposals, where you want to do something, you're willing to lead the effort to actually do the work there. That's a proposal. We also have something called suggestions, where you think that this would be a cool idea, but you don't necessarily have the cycles, or you don't necessarily have the knowledge or expertise to pursue that idea, right? And in this case, someone that may have the expertise or knowledge in the group can then come and spearhead the effort. And if you want to do a presentation, you can open a presentation issue. And one thing that we also do is security reviews, joint reviews for self-assessments. And the idea here is that we help increase the security posture of CNCF projects. So for example, the ones that we've done so far is we have Bunch here, we have BuildPacks, Cloud Custodian, Harbor. We did, I think the initial ones that we started with was like OPA, Spiffy, Spy, and Dodo. Yeah, so these are pretty good documents, and how these come about is we have a joint collaboration between members of the tag as well as the maintainers of it. So for example, if you look at, let's look at the Spiffy Spire one. We can see that basically for a project, this ends up delivering a really good security.md. We talk about what is the project, and then we go down to things like threat model and things like that. The Spiffy Spire one's a little bit more mature, the threat model, but the general idea is that you can kind of have this document of a security.md, and then people that want to use your project can go there and figure out, what the security considerations, what does the CNCF generally think about the security posture of the project. Yeah, and so we encourage also CNCF projects to just open up issues to say that, I want to do a security review. The main motivation initially with the assessments and reviews came from when you're moving from sandbox to incubation to graduation. Generally, the TOC wants to have some idea on the security posture of a project. And so sometimes the security reviews become part of the process of going from like incubation to graduation and so on. But we also encourage projects that are new to come in and say that, I want to have a security assessment. And part of the security assessment could be, I want to understand my security posture better. It could also be that, I want to eventually have a security audit done by being purchased by the CNCF. And what we can do as the tag during a joint review is to say that, okay, we are understanding this project, we understand that there are critical components to it, and we can recommend to CNCF that a code audit should be done. So I can't see the chat, so I'm just gonna go back here. Doesn't look like there's anything. I guess it's a good point to just stop, ask questions. Any thoughts?
Seems pretty straightforward. Nice and simple to get involved. That's it, really.
Cool. So I just want to get. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, one thing from me is I've got an interest in attempting to build out a lightweight threat modeling framework so that we can sort of share a common vernacular and move quickly through the number of projects that we've got and hopefully increase our effectiveness somewhat. So if anybody's interested in that, I will at some point be adding some more color to the issue that I've raised there. I also have a little bit of open source collateral in this space that I can point people to as well.
Cool.
I dropped the link to the issue in the chat. So if you're interested, put a thumbs up, comment on that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I think that we want to kind of go through as well some of the. So I'm not sure how many people like kind of went to the talk, went to the closing, and kind of know like what we're doing. So I want to get a feel of whether people are keen, whether we want to go through some of these things that we talk about, in like go into more detail on them.
So you got a message in the chat just from Eric Smalling, just saying that was an excellent overview. I've been hanging out here for a few months. I now have a much better understanding of things. Thanks. Also just realized that it wasn't being recorded.
Oh, wait, it's not recorded.
I think it is recording.
Oh,
it says recording live in the corner of my screen for YouTube.
Yeah. Say hi to the camera. Cool. Yeah. So I think we can kind of go around and talk about certain projects, or if anyone wants to bring out a certain topic that they're interested in. If not, we can go around and talk a little bit about the efforts. I think some of the proposals of the ongoing efforts are on the call, so they can talk to them as well.
Sweet.
Yeah, my throat is getting dry. So maybe we can start with Michael. Do you want to chat a little bit more about the SSF, the applying SSF to CNCF projects?
Sure. So I just posted in chat the paper that was released at Cloud Native Security Con, which was one of the co-located events at KubeCon EU. I just posted that in the chat. So yeah, there is a open proposal for applying sort of both the best practices and how can we sort of use the reference architecture to protect the supply chain of some CNCF projects. There was some discussion with a few folks to do that with something like Cert Manager, perhaps. But one of the things that was also brought up at CNCF is, in addition to that, there seemed to be actually interest from the Kubernetes project itself for us to start applying that. I think that requires a lot more discussion because there is vastly different size between Cert Manager and some of the other smaller CNCF projects that we were looking at and the behemoth that is Kubernetes. But it sounded like there was a lot of interest on that end to sort of say, hey, how can we have a secure software factory for Kubernetes? And I mean, like, not a secure software factory that lives on Kubernetes. I mean, for the Kubernetes project itself, hey, how does Kubernetes, like if Kubernetes is running all your software, how do we make sure that the supply chain of Kubernetes is secure? So that's kind of what has been sort of discussed there. And so just generally, these are like supply chain security best practices that are also described in the white paper that was released about a year ago. Also at KubeCon EU, around KubeCon EU last year. And so these are things like, applying, zero trust to how you build software, applying, good build practices to ensure that, you don't give builds network access that need them, like stuff like that. And so those sorts of things are things that, we're looking to now apply across the board to CNCF projects themselves so that we can start securing the supply chains of CNCF tools. Because I mean, even just yesterday, there was that Python supply chain attack that was brought up that Jack reported to our group. And it would be nice to just be able to say, great, how do we make sure that Kubernetes never makes it on that list? That's kind of one of the goals for what we're trying to do with this proposal.
So Michael, that sounds great. I think we should integrate with the work that John Ziola and team are doing on NIST mappings as well. And also SSDF, right? They are also mapping SSDF, Secure Software Development Framework controls as well. And the supply chain security. There are a number of controls that are supply chain security as part of that. If we can use that subset of work in your project, I think that'll be great.
Yep. I believe there is potentially an issue for that. If there's not an issue for that, it was discussed in a previous supply chain meeting on to sort of say, hey, how can we also now take the work that we did from the secure software factory and the best practices and then map that to some of the other frameworks and standards that have come out.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think so. The paper that you highlighted, right, Michael? I think the software supply chain best practices. There was a talk by Roy Gibbons, and I can't remember the name of the other gentleman. It was basically how 3M kind of took the best practices paper and kind of converted it to controls and how they mapped it to the organization. That was on SecurityCon, so if folks are interested in applying that, highly encouraged to take a look at the talk as well. I put in the issue in the chat, so if you're keen on that, please feel free to comment. Any more comments on supply chain and things like that? And if you belong to a project, super keen on trying this out also, we'll be more than happy to engage.
Sorry, just quickly. I haven't read this document yet, but I was just wondering, is the intention for this to be like a tool agnostic sort of white paper in terms of it not being targeted at any specific sets of tooling that like that secure software factory would have implemented in like an organization's like infrastructure?
Sure. So yeah, the idea here for now is to kind of keep it very, very high level. There's a bunch of different reasons for that. Not least of which is we don't want to play kingmaker. We don't want to say, hey, thou shalt use this specific tool. But there is also discussion about, hey, as we're building out more stuff, there probably will be a living document of, hey, based on the opinions of the group, these are the ones that we found most useful. With that said, there is a tool underneath the OpenSSF, which is also a Linux Foundation thing, and it's called, well, it just got renamed to Fresca last week. I lead on this project, and it is like an opinionated version. It's an implementation of the Secure Software Factory. So it takes sort of what we built in the Secure Software Factory, now actually applies it and builds code, and it's built on Tecton and Tecton chains and Keyverno and a bunch of tools like that.
Am I right in saying, I think I saw it somewhere, is this where you referenced sort of potential uses of Falco?
Yeah. So Falco could, so for example, in the Secure Software Factory reference architecture, one of the pieces that is in there is a thing of runtime monitoring of the build, right? So how do we make sure that the build that itself, like, we've secured the build as best as we can, but if that build starts trying to reach out to the internet and starts making, network calls when it shouldn't be, I want to know about it. I'd be interested in helping with that, because it's something that I'd got started. I'd written a document, like sort of outlining my thoughts about how a tool like Falco or something at like the kernel layer could give some observability in this form of attestations in that sense. Anyway, I was just, thank you for answering the questions. Do you
have the GitHub URL for the implementation that you said
sure
recently?
Sure.
Is it this one still?
Yes, it is that one.
Okay.
In the next day, it'll be, as opposed to SSF, it'll be Fresca, but it'll automatically redirect. So.
Yeah, and also Thomas, if you could comment on the issue. I think this is also a good time to highlight that we have a Slack channel, and we have Slack channels for every specific working group. So we have, if you're part of the CNCF Slack, we have the tech security Slack, and then we also have the supply chain working group one, which is this one.
There are lots of Slack channels all over the place, it seems.
Yep. If you search for tech security, you see like 10 of them.
Got you. Thank you.
So I guess in the mention of the sorry, I'm just making notes. In the mention of the Secure Software Factory white paper, is there anything specific that you're looking for? Is it just like feedback, like reading it and getting feedback, or are you wanting people to go build tools based on it, or what's the action point here around the white paper?
Do you want me to take that, Brendan, or do you want to take that?
Go for it.
Okay. So yeah, a bunch of different things, right? So, it has gone out for sort of community review already, and so it has been officially released. However, obviously we love to hear feedback from like, okay, now we started trying to actually use the paper in real projects, and we found this big gap. So for version 1.1 or version 2 of this paper, this is what we should update. As well as, if folks look at this and go, great, yeah, I can totally, Fresca is one implementation, but hey, this is how I built Secure Software Factory using sort of GitHub and whatever else. Like, yeah, we'd love to see how folks actually use this. Would love to get some potential case studies as well. So just as a reminder, the high level, there's the best practices paper, which is generally how to sort of do things to secure your secure your supply chain. Secure Software Factory is focused on how do I go and pull in source and dependencies in a good way where I feel like I'm only pulling in the stuff I expected to be pulled in. I'm building my code that, I'm tracking the provenance and everything else to make sure that, somebody did not inject a new step in, like, did a solar wind style sunburst attack and, compromise my build. Like, if you sort of build a system that looks like this, we believe that, you're protected. You have a good deal of protection against a lot of supply chain attacks that attack kind of how you build code.
And also to add on to that, sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. I was just saying, nice. I've got that stuff in the scribe and thoughts buzzing around in my head for work. But yeah, cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I think also in addition to that, one thing that we're hoping for is to kind of create a more common language or more common understanding on like the components of the secure software factory. So I know like there are a lot of times when projects are like, we're solving supply chain, but it's very difficult to pinpoint, what exactly are you solving, because no one project kind of encompasses everything. So the hope for the reference architecture and the white papers are also that, we can pinpoint, I'm going to be an attester, this is an attester and a credential manager or something like that. Instead of everyone claiming that they do everything, it will be able to provide a better way so that ecosystem can work together as well. Cool. We have about 10 minutes left. Does anyone want to bring up something else?
Brandon, maybe quick summary of the white paper that was released last week as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So now that you know that this big document is there to read, there is another document that you can read, which is Cloud Native Security White Paper. We had one release, the first one released in November 2020. And then basically after about 18 months or so, now we have version 2. So like Brandon is sharing, it's right there. I shared the link on the Zoom chat as well. Basically, unlike the supply, so both the papers, to be clear, are complementary to each other. The supply chain one goes really deep into that aspect of security. This one is more on general purpose cloud native security. There are some new sections added in the white paper, like ransomware, threat matrix for containers, how it applies to cloud native app developers and platform operators. Some of the guidelines at a higher level, like secure defaults. How can you make your applications and cloud native platforms secure by default using some of the principles. Then a brief summary of the supply chain security paper as a section, and then linking it back to the white paper for more context. We also have some EU regulations related use cases on how you could apply some of the cloud native security features to all the regulations in EU. And there's a bunch of other things. So I heard some questions on the supply chain paper. So similarly, the intent here is to be tool agnostic, be neutral, not create or make any kings or define any winners in terms of which one is better. So the main thing for new members and existing ones is read it, share it with your friends who might find it useful, and then come back with feedback on Slack or on as a GitHub issue. And we would love to hear from you based on what you come up with.
Awesome. Any questions for Pushkar?
Any specific Slack channel where you want feedback on this? I'm guessing it's not the supply chain working group.
Yeah. So, oops. Yeah. So the parent Slack channel is tax security, and this one, which we are discussing solely for the white paper, is tax security white paper. So you can just go there and share your feedback.
Amazing. Cool. I just wanted that for the notes. Thanks.
Awesome. Cool. So I just want to give a quick reminder again. Next week we're gonna be having a presentation. So same time, same place, but it'll be a presentation. It's a kind of more of an open discussion about issues. I guess since we have quite a few people, I want to leave some time for people to just mention anything, anything they're looking forward to, any questions about how they can engage. And if we have no other questions, I think we can end early.
I just wanted to add that there is another proposal that for SBOMs. So we're trying to like, basically it's a kind of a guidance of like, what do we want to do? Like, how do we want to push the community and what needs to be part of the SBOM? If is there anything missing, all that kind of stuff. So there's a phase 1 of like best practices of what an SBOM should include. And then, maybe the second phase is kind of like figuring out, is there ingestion pieces? How do we take this SBOM? How do we ingest it into specific tools? And can we use it for some kind of for evaluation or something like that? So that's the other proposal that's out there. So if anyone's interested in working more on this, you can just, add some comments on the bottom on this proposal, and we can discuss more. And I think the next step basically is to figure out like the deliverables and the timeline for it. So I'm kind of working through that right now, but if anyone else has any ideas, like anything else that needs to be added or, kind of comments or concerns, we can definitely talk through that.
Awesome. And Matt, this is the supply chain working group as well.
Cool. Sounds good.
Anything else? Cool. So again, as a reminder, whatever we talked about today is some of the issues that we're working on. There's still many other things that the group works on in the GitHub issues as well. And feel free to reach out to us, any of the community members. We're pretty friendly. If not, I think we'll call it for today. And thank you, Matt. You've been an awesome scribe.
Cool. It's my pleasure. Alrighty, cool.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Matt, for scribing, and thanks for Brandon hosting.
Thanks for joining,
Thanks,
folks.
everyone.
Nice meeting everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.